So I thought it was a bit of a given, and it should be obvious that you shouldn't lie in order to get laid. You shouldn't lie in order to get anything. It never really gives you a net positive in the end. It always comes back to bite you in the ass. It's also a sign that you're a bit of a pussy. And if you can't, get girls or get relationships without lying, it's a huge sign of weakness and your inability to actually, be charismatic, sexy, cool enough that girls actually, want to hook up with you or get in a relationship with you purely based on its own merits, not you blowing smoke up their ass, make them think that you like them more than you do, or even something small as like lying about your age in order to look, a bit more mature. Like if you're in your early 20s, I had a client tell me that several people that he will, chronically lie and say they're 25 to make it seem like they're older so that girls don't see them as, young and immature if they say they're 20, 21. I've seen guys do this before. I think it's really fucking stupid. And then you have situations where, a girl asks you what you're looking for. And you say, oh, I'm looking for a relationship. And then, they end up hooking up. And then she's under the assumption that this might go further, right? It's not like you outright promised her a relationship, but you pretty much heavily implied that you would want one. Because if you're dating someone and you say, what are you looking for? And you say a relationship, and then things go well and you have chemistry and you guys end up hooking up, she's assuming that this hooking up is going to possibly lead to more, right? You're under no obligation to if you do hook up, you're under no obligation to then date that person, but you are under the obligation to proceed as if you are looking for a relationship, right? And I think some guys play some games where they're like, yeah, I'm looking for a relationship, but not with you. And you need to make that clear with a person, right? Especially when the context is very heavily, or it's very clear, right? If you're just in a general conversation with a girl and you say, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? And, or she asks you and you respond, oh, I'm looking for a relationship like anyone. I want to find that person for me and blah, blah, blah. But, it takes time to figure that out. And then as things go on, you guys end up, let's say, hooking up. It depends where in the conversation that was said, right? I would say that this implies that you're actually going to give it a shot and see her more than once. If your intention was to just get a one-night stand, then you probably shouldn't have made that statement, because statements about intentions are heavily reliant on who you're around, right? Let's think of a stupid example, like, when you ask a girl if she wants to go out and she's like, oh, I'm really busy, right? That may be technically true, but it's more her kind of implying I'm too busy for you. But if there's a guy she really, really likes, she's going to make time for him. She's going to take a day off to go on a date with him, or if they start talking more and the connection starts to grow, then she'll be willing to, take off a day to meet up with him or have a date, or, stay over late even though she has to work in the morning because she really likes him, right? So, we're not every statement has to be taken 100% literally, right? Language doesn't really work that way. There's a lot of implicit meanings. But, or because that's true, if you're talking to a girl and you know that she doesn't meet the requirements for what you would want in a girlfriend, either physically, her beauty, personality-wise, you don't really connect at that level, you can just feel it, or third, you don't think she actually has the qualities of a girlfriend, like the objective good qualities that make someone be a committed, supportive partner, then if that question arises, you should answer it a bit differently, right? You should say, I'm looking for something casual, right? You don't mean that in general. You mean that specifically with her. Or you can get really specific and transparent and say, like everyone, I'm kind of looking for a relationship. I think most people, 99% of people, if the right person comes along, they are happy to get in a relationship. Only 1% of guys are really those, like, irrevocable fucking players and just want to fuck a lot of pussy. So like everyone, I want a relationship, but hey, if a fun opportunity comes along, I'm down for it. That's a little bit better of an answer that you would want to give. And it fits the context, right? Because then we also have to have some sensitivity, right? and we're not going to say like, hey, I totally would love a relationship, but you're definitely not that level for me, and I would only like have casual sex with you. That's just cruel, right? There's ways to say these things without being assholes. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because a client of mine got into a situation recently on New Year's Eve, and he ended up hooking up with some girl. And at first, everything sounded kind of kosher. You know, they both wanted something casual. And it's like, okay, whatever, right? Well, you know, once we kind of took a closer look, it wasn't as clear. She had texted him. She wanted to see him again. He was visiting his, you know, hometown, but he lives somewhere else. And so she wanted to see him again. And she said, what about Saturday? And he responded that, you know, he doesn't know if he can wait that long. Now, his statement just meant purely like he's going to have to go back home. But she interpreted it like this. So I'll show you the text. So she interpreted it as, oh, were you thinking we're going to have sex? If that's the case, then that's not the only thing I'm looking for, and I don't want to waste your time. It's a bit of a strange reaction to saying, you know, I got to be home, right? So I worked with him on this text to say, I mean, I may not actually be in town. I do have to go back to where he's from soon. But now that you mention this, I'm looking for something more casual. I don't want to give you false expectations. I made him say that because I wanted to make things clear. Then her reaction was a little bit interesting. That would have been good to know when I met you and fucked you raw. That's actually like diabolical. Apparently diabolical is a word that she likes to use. But this made me think something wasn't quite right with everything. So I kind of probed deeper, and I was like, so I'd known that he had mentioned looking for a relationship in general at some point in the conversation. And I kind of took this as like he should have been more clear, but maybe there was just a misunderstanding in the conversation. But I was like, I need some more context. When exactly did you answer this? And when was the question like brought up? Like, what was the context? Well, the replay, they're about, like the club is closing. They're about to go home together. And she asks him, what are you looking for? And he responds, I'm looking for a relationship. Then they go home together and have sex. And I go, oh, okay. That's very different, right? Answering that question that way at some point in the night might mean one thing, the general looking for a relationship that most people are. This is a little bit more of a, hey, you know, I like you, I'm horny, and I want to get laid on New Year's Eve, right? Because girls love sex just as much as men, okay? So let's not, you know, I'm under no presumptions that, you know, it's always just guys chasing pussy and girls don't want to have sex. They just reluctantly give in. No, they like dick, right? But she's wanting to have something a little bit more. Do I think hooking up on New Year's Eve is the most prudent strategy if you're looking for something serious? Probably not. You're probably fishing in the wrong lakes, but not everyone is very efficient and intelligent with their dating strategy. But regardless, she is due honesty and respect. And he didn't quite give that to her because, you know, she was saying, I want to hook up with you, but I also want there to be an option for more. And if that was the case, that would be completely fine, right? If you really like a girl and you're like, hey, you know, I'm down for something more, but also I'd like to casually hook up. Okay. As long as it's fully understood that you two are doing that, then you can move forward. But you got to give it the good old college try and actually see each other more than once. But if you say that just to like get past that barrier of her, okay, you know, it's a casual hookup, but it's not a one night stand. It's something in the middle. There's options further down, no promises, but options. And then after you get laid, you're like, whatever. Pff, next. Then you're a fucking dick and a prick and diabolical. And that's what he did. And I asked him, and I said, did you understand what you were doing? did you know that you were essentially lying and giving false expectations to lower her guard so that she can get laid? And he said yes. When I cornered him, I was like, you're not stupid. You know what you were implying. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, God fucking damn it. And I gave him a good old lashing. And I drew up a text for him to apologize and to explain the situation and admit and confess to him lying, and send it to her. And just like, no sort of, oh, well, hey, at least we had a good time. No, like, just take full responsibility for being a piece of shit and then make a resolution to not do that again, right? And also, he had kind of lied to me because he had kind of given me the runaround, right? He didn't fix my misunderstanding. I had kind of taken it one way, and he didn't say, no, Hector, like, actually, like, I kind of knew what I was doing, and I kind of lied. He let me, because I had good faith in him. I had faith that he wouldn't do something like that. So that was super disappointing, and I told him if he ever lies to me again, I'm going to drop him as a client, and he needs to stop being a piece of shit. So that happened. Yeah. It hurts people, okay? First and foremost, it hurts people. It comes back to bite you in the ass. And if you can't get what you want in dating without lying, you just suck, right? And it probably was a move of desperation. I guess he hadn't gotten laid in a couple months, and he just wanted to get pussy. And what was worse is I had to sort of grill him on it, and I was like, what do you really feel? He's like, well, I kind of feel bad. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the other part of the pie chart of your feelings, right? Here's the one section where you feel bad. What about the other percentage? He's like, well, I kind of just saw it as another notch on my post. And I was like, oh, Jesus, okay, that's pretty shitty. And what else? He's like, well, no harm, no foul kind of thing. And I was like, really? You really don't see how you could have hurt someone this way? And he's probably not the only one who's listening to this video and watching it right now who would have that sort of attitude towards it, right? And I need to set you fuckers straight. There are cases when women make up their own expectations, okay? And play the victim and this and that, right? But there are times when women have genuine concerns that guys are being... Most of the time when girls are angry with fuckboys, part of their target is like just the guy who just wants to get laid, right? But the thing about those guys is they're pretty straight up about it. The real fuckboy, who is the real villain, and this is the guy that I've always looked down on, is the one who will spend a lot of time getting to know her. And like me, when I was in my player phase, like I was just like, I'm gonna try and fuck you on the first couple dates, like, and I'm gonna be super upfront about it. And some girls would get offended that I want mainly sex, and okay, and sometimes they would be okay with it after we talk a little bit more, and sometimes they would stick with their original idea and be like, no, like, I'm not down with that. Okay, cool, right? Move on. But I would have girls tell me about certain types of guys who would play the slow game. This would especially happen with girls who I was casually having sex with, and then they were like, hey, I'm looking for something more, so, I'm going to kind of put this on the back burner. Okay, that's fine. No worries. We had a good time. Yeah, it was great. Awesome. Okay, cool. And, good luck. And they'd come back like X amount of time later and tell me, hey, I was, talking to this guy for a couple months or a couple weeks or a long period of time, and he made it very clear that I was really special and this and that. And then we had sex, and then he changed dramatically, just like on the flip of a dime, right? And this really hurts girls because that guy was lying. He was lying to get pussy, right? Oh, you're so special. I like you so much. This and that. Has post-nut clarity. Boom. Really not that interested. And there's a lot of guys who do this. It's probably one of the most common seduction strategies because I'll just be upfront with you. Getting girls like casually is a lot more difficult than it is to just play the good old like, hey, I like you, we're talking, this and that, we get to know each other over weeks and months, and then we end up dating. That strategy the second one has a higher level of consistency. It's a lot easier in terms of like pure difficulty of being charming and sexy and, interesting and having game, right? It's definitely it's just an easier strategy. It takes quite a bit of skills to get someone to have casual sex. Not like get them in the sense that like they don't have to be tricked into it, but to just be that sexy and that charismatic and cool, right? Because ideally, most women would want a relationship, but some women are open to making an exception if the guy is exceptional. Okay, exceptional men make exceptions. Especially usually the higher quality a woman is and the higher self-esteem she has and the higher standards that she has. And guys know this deep down. And so they'll take the easier path, even though they're not willing to pay the toll of that easier path, right? You get to know each other, you get close, you get intimate, you have sex, okay, you have a relationship. Or, have a relationship, then have sex. They may even commit to the relationship to get sex, but then that was really their main goal, and then they kind of pull back that level of interest and romance and excitement and passion that they had, and then the girl's kind of left like, what the fuck? Where did all that magic go now that you got pussy, right? And it is diabolical. And some men maybe don't even know they're doing something wrong, or they do and they just don't care. I would say it's the latter in a lot of cases. They kind of see it as like, whatever, I did what I had to do, right? They have this dog-eat-dog world mentality. Like, you do what you got to do to get what you want. And, but here's the thing. Then these fuckers who do this kind of thing, then they're going to go on to, because when you play with sharks, you're going to get bitten. And they're going to go on and meet a girl who plays them, or they're going to get hurt, or going to get cheated on and lied. And they're going to fucking cry like a little bitch. Now lying is bad. Now taking advantage of people is bad, right? Because it's you. Well, go fuck yourself, right? If you're not going to be looking out for others, you cannot reasonably expect to have that thing, that morality done to you, right? Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. And if you don't do unto others that way, when it comes to you, stop fucking crying, okay? But 100% of those guys are going to cry when it's done to them. But they're too short-sighted and fucking stupid to see that whether you believe in some system of karma, I can just explain it very practically. If you're that kind of person, you're going to draw those kind of people around you because like attracts like. And you're eventually going to meet someone who plays better than you, and you're going to get played. And then you're going to be upset. And this is a sort of eye for an eye makes the whole world blind situation. Everyone's fucking everyone over in order to get what they want, but then they end up fucking someone else and then just creating another person, and then they themselves are going to get fucked over because they're around people who have that mentality. But there's a lot of guys out there who are doing this kind of strategy. Relationships end. You never know, how long something's going to last. But if you're going to be telling someone that you really like them and you really care about them and you're really interested in something serious, then you have to give it a try. And if you can take this mentality seriously, it's going to carry over into a lot of places in your life, not just your dating life or your social life. Like, you're actually going to care about your relationships and give them, you're going to have a maintenance mentality where you don't just drop people because they're not giving you what you want. But at the same time, you do need the ability to drop people when they've crossed lines, right? But it's a balance, right? There's sometimes when you should ruthlessly cut off people, and there's sometimes where you have to be forgiving and, second chances. And each context is going to be different. But if you take this mentality to stick with your intentions and express yourself honestly and transparently, when eventually you do get in a relationship, that relationship is going to be healthy because it's based on a foundation of mutual respect where you are expressing yourself honestly and then expecting them to express themselves honestly, and you work together cooperatively rather than seeing seduction as a combative, PvP mentality. There is, between men and women, this sort of fun little wrestling match of dominance where the woman kind of wants the man to be dominant over her. And anyone who doesn't see that doesn't understand the male-female dynamic. But the majority of a seduction is cooperative, right? But I think too many people out there just don't have the skills to get the kind of women that they want in their life, so they have to blow smoke up women's asses and give lies and false expectations to get what they want. And it's the strategy of pussies. It's the strategy of losers, and I promise you will reap what you sow. So, don't do it. Don't really know how many more times I can reiterate the same point, but I want to drive the point home. So I let my client know, and I hope you guys will never do that. And if you have done it, make a resolution not to do it anymore, because karma will come calling. So, yep. Best of luck. Be a good person.